Stephen Speak, Extra Speak. A little more of everything and nothing. Don't forget to subscribe. Hello, welcome to Stephen Speak, episode number 16. Today's episode, I'm going to do you a reading. Hang on, I should have got this sorted before I started recording, because you know what I'm like. Hang on a sec, hang on. Okay, so I'm going to put my glasses on, because I'm going to read you the prologue from the book that I'm writing about my kind of railway career and experiences that I've had. So the book hasn't really got a title at the moment. I've kind of called it on my preliminary. What do they call it? What do they call it when it's in like a draft copy? But there's like some sort of intellectual version of that I can't think of, which really bugs me. But I've written the prologue and like a chapter or two. But I'm going to read the prologue, which is like the introduction to basically my introduction to how I got on the railway, really. So I hope you enjoy it. And maybe at a later date I'll read you one of the actual chapters as well, because the first chapter that I've written, still tweaking here and there, and this prologue's still a work in progress. I may tweak it again, but it's not too bad so far. So excuse me if I make some mistakes and stuff, because I'm in a bit of an awkward position for one thing, and it's kind of difficult reading. Well, it's not difficult to read, but I feel like it's kind of difficult. Oh, I'm sorry to move that again. I feel like it's difficult to read your own work, maybe. Anyway, the working title is a memoir of a porter, because that's pretty much what my first job was on the railway. But the first chapter is called "Oi Dickhead, Where's My Train?" So Sarah thinks I should actually call the book that, because it's more funny and in your face, which I'm actually considering now. But this is a prologue, and here it is now. The railway has been my life for over 2 decades. It has provided me with what I first thought was a starter career, but has since enabled me to get onto the property market at a very young age, has great job stability, taught me valuable life skills, and introduced me to many walks of life and characters along the way. This book is a reflection of my experiences over this time, some good and some not so much. However, even though there have been highs, there have been some quite low lows. But they have all shaped my journey on this railway career, and I am thankful for what I've experienced and have shared in this book. Yes, that chapter, and even that other one that you'll read and recall back to this very sentence. I was at college when I obtained my first part-time job at Crewe Railway Station, where my dad was also employed as a team leader. The company were looking for casual staff to assist at weekends, as there was due to be major engineering work on the horizon, and needed staff to usher customers to rail replacement buses. My dad saw an opportunity to put me to work once more in an ideal, not at college day job. Little did he know, at the time, that this was the first step in the ladder of what would be a career for me. So cheers, Dad. I must admit that I wasn't 100% in on the deal of working at Crewe Railway Station, if I'm honest, having heard from the horse's mouth what my father had sometimes had to see and put up with there. But he was insistent, and he's a big guy, an ex-military 3-para, so I thought I'd stay on his good side. Also, moreover, because if I had said anything, he would have most definitely beasted me in other ways, so this would be the path of least resistance. But upon pricking up my ears and listening to the proposition, in fairness, the job seemed a pretty good screw. It was well paid for someone of my age, and was quite a bit above the minimum wage. The hours were flexible too, what we would call nowadays probably a 0-hour contract. I also in that moment recalled that I'd come out of his last get a job speech, okay, this being when he, unknowing to me, signed me up to agency work to work in a factory. The job was basically me getting up at 4:30am to walk to get a lift to the factory. Well, it was more of a warehouse which handled goods, including food products. I had to get a lift so early as I was one of the first people to be picked up, so it did a route along every crevice of Crewe to pick up the other workers. After the meandering journey, we would arrive for about a 6 a.m. start. There were several tasks in the factory: checking tin food for dents and repackaging them, repacking OXO cubes, checking that bags of sweets were not overfilled or underfilled, and my favourite, squeezing salad cream sachets to see if they would burst. I shit you not. This was a sobering experience for me, and I swore that I would definitely not end up going back to this sort of job. I say this with admiration for the people that do these kind of roles, and if I had to, I would go back in a flash. Needs must and all. I worked all summer because of him, from leaving school to going on our last family holiday prior to me starting college. I just planned to chill and relax, but because of him, I was able to afford a portable mini-disc player. Don't get me started on them, the best personal audio ever created. Kitted out my wardrobe and learnt some lessons from being in a real-world working environment where I was treated as an adult as well as just a number. What I mean is it made me realise that I wanted a career path. I had chosen the army from a very young age, and it was penciled in post-college. This unfortunately didn't work out, but that's a story for another of my life's memoirs. Working in the warehouse was soul-destroying for me, a monotonous, sterile, and gossip-ridden environment, and for me this was not the way. It did not play to my strengths. Well, partly, I do love repetitive tasks and sorting things, but on my terms and not for 8 solid hours. And at the end of it, not smelling like salad cream. So, I did as my dad wanted, and I applied for Crewe Railway Station, and I got shortlisted for an interview. I'd never had an interview before, and I would never have one in the same as my first ever again, or upon writing this prologue at least. I walked in, and I knew a couple of the managers that were interviewing, as obviously my father was a manager, and I had met quite a lot of the station staff over the years, as they knew me by sight and would always say hello. This relaxed me as well as making me incredibly nervous at the same time. This was compounded by the fact that I had left our family home to walk to my interview. My dad refused to assist me in giving me a lift. He basically threatened me to do my best, or else. I was told that I would have to make a good impression for myself, but I was also representing him, and anything I did out of place or incorrect reflected on him and his position. No pressure. I would also like to add at this point that my dad is a caring chap. I do not wish to think that he battered me or anything like that. He didn't have to. A stare and a talk of respect and pride was all it took. I held him in high regard and still do, as he was a soldier in my eyes, and had completed the journey that I wished to follow in. So, off I went to the interview, where I would be tested on the geography of the UK mainland stations, like pin the tail on the map, participate in some customer service roleplay, and also wrote a jingle to promote the train company. That's no joke. Several people walked out at this point, but my musical prowess, having had organ lessons, not a euphemism, since I was 11, was paying dividends. I was summoned to a small office from the main room where we were being tested. I walked and took a seat as instructed. This was the final phase of the whole day's interview. The one-on-one interview, or two-on-me, as it was. The two managers were sat in 2 chairs separately, facing me, and it was the 2 that I knew. They were both lovely ladies. I think my 2 favourite members of staff on the station at that point. I felt tired at this point as well. I'd been maintaining focus and delivering maximum effort for about 4 or 5 hours, and this was one area I couldn't blag. Geography, I was okay at. Music, no problem. Roleplay, no biggie. I was a bit of a drama freak at school, but questions, unknown questions, was a worry to me. My mind was spinning, and all I could think of was not letting my mum and dad down. Well, Stephen, how are you? How's your dad? I've not seen him for a few days, as we've been on opposite shifts. I say, confused, hoping the next questions are just as easy as this one. He's really well, I suppose. I project my fake confident persona that I've perfected since birth. He's alright, yeah, okay, yeah, he's good. Cheers, thanks. I think they could see under my veil, and they both had a wry smile at one another. Well, you've got the job, Stephen. We're not going to ask you any further questions, so we'll sit here for a minute. So it looks like we have, just for the benefit of the other candidates waiting outside. So just relax and we'll have a chat, okay? I breathed a big sigh of relief and joined them in the gentle laughter. Sorry for the intense day you've had. Your dad told us to put you through the ringer, but you had the job as soon as you applied. This was just a formality. My gentle chortle grew into a laugh. What a bastard, I thought. I knew they were being harder on me, and I didn't know whether I was being paranoid or not. When I got home, my dad greeted me with a joyous laughter the moment my foot crossed the threshold, knowing his prank had worked and that I had learnt a valued lesson. to try, even though the outcome looks set. Don't take that for granted, and still do your best for your own pride. A lesson that I still live by today. Thanks, Dad. You arse. Well, that's the first chapter of my railway book. Sorry, a bit jankily read. I don't know why. I change words when I'm reading it, so some of them bits weren't even accurate to what I've written, because my brain ad-libs for some bloody unknown reason. Must be the Irish in me. I can't read what's written down. Yeah, so that's the prologue of my book. Not a chapter, just the intro at the beginning, just to say how I entered the railway. And the whole idea of the book is it's going to be a list of funny stories, some serious stories as well. You know, in my time I've seen some crazy stuff. But mostly I want to keep it lighthearted, but just like silly things that people have said, weird things that have happened. Yeah, and just a book of stories, really. You know, just about how strange and wonderful and real the railway can be. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think, and please contact me. Give me tips if you think there's anything I could correct in that. You know, I'm new to the writing game, and I am going to revise that already. I think I actually have. This is on my iPad and in notes, and I think actually the one on my laptop, I've made some slight tweaks to. So, yeah, it's a work in progress. So, hopefully in a few months' time, I'll have more of a book, and I'll see if I can read you a chapter of it. So thank you for listening, and I hope that was okay, and I hope the audio is okay, because I was kind of facing away a little bit, so I hope the audio sounds okay. But yeah, let me know what you think. You've been listening to Stephen Speak Extra, and this is me, Stephen, and that was my book that I'm writing. I'm writing a couple of books, so there may be some more excerpts in the future from different things. And stay tuned to social media for more info too. Excellent, no worries. Take care of yourselves, and we'll chat soon. You've been listening to Stephen Speak Extra Speak. Thanks for listening, and please subscribe.